Every day, all day.
This is how we roll.
This is 97.9, the BOX.
Success.
Good morning.
Good morning, success. And I want to say thank you to the Box family for your patience.
Yeah.
So I love it.
And
Appreciate it.
just so you know, I did a walkthrough last night just to make sure I can get on time, and I'm still 11 minutes late. So
That's okay. No problem. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and set this off. So good morning, everybody. If you are here for the Business Behind the Music, and we are live from the virtual Houston BMW Center Studios. And so Business Behind the Music is for people that are interested in the music and entertainment business, whether you're interested in being an artist or you're more a behind the scenes producer, whatever the case may be, label executive, management, whatever aspect of the business you might be interested in. And so here's where we sort of dive deep into aspects of the business and try to give you the news you can use to get you on your way to be successful in your career. Or maybe you're already having a career and you just need some insight in terms of how to move. So I've been very fortunate to have some wonderful guests. Today is no exception. My guest is Mike Kelly, who is the National Director of UAC for Atlantic Records, and he is tagged here and pinned in the comment as well. And if you don't know or haven't figured it out yet in the past 11 minutes, I'm Terri Thomas. I'm the Operations Manager for Radio 1 here in Houston, and that means I program 97.9 The Box, Magic 102.1, Radio Now 92.1, which is our top 40 station, and I also have Praise Houston Online, which is our inspiration station. So we're going to go ahead and jump in, and I'm so excited about our guest. I feel like, he's my favorite uncle in the business. And because I've known Mike for almost as long as I've been in the business, and he's always really looked out for me in terms of information and knowledge and absolute support. And so what I'd love to do, Mike, is to share some of your background of how you got in the music business and a little bit about your background so that everybody can see all the wonderfulness that I already know.
well, I grew up with three loves. I love my family, I love music, and I love basketball. Those are my three passions. And then when I turned 19, I decided and I discovered I had to put Jesus in front of all that.
Yes.
So that's the start. But basketball was my first love. It's where I really learned, I think, the fundamentals of life. Basically, I learned so much playing basketball that I still use a lot of those things today. But they always say if you really want to make God laugh, tell him your plan. So
True.
I discovered as a senior in high school, I was not going to the NBA, so I had to come up with Plan B, which was radio. And my family, I have a family of radio. I mean, my uncle Melvin Jones was like the first one. I had an uncle who's no longer with us. His name was Bob Jones. He was murdered in Chicago in '82. I had Bobby OJ as my first cousin, and then I had an uncle R.J. Jones that was in radio, and then here I come in radio. So that's my radio family. And my game plan was, I'm going to get in radio. I'm going to go for 10 years. I'm going to change radio stations every 2 years and take all those 2 years into one city, and after 10 years, and just become the man. I want to become like the governor of the city on the radio. Anything that goes down in the community has to come through me. That was my game plan. Well, lo and behold, I started programming after 3.5 years. And then in the 9th year, I was blessed with this little child, 7 pounds and 9 ounces, and she just changed my world. Mm-hmm. I had to come up with a different perspective because and then my desire for radio started to change after she was born. I mean, I'm going to the club, making money, and she's at home, and I want to be at home. And that's no way. I don't operate like that. I have to be focused and all in on everything that I do. So lo and behold, I got an opportunity to come on the record side from a guy named A.D. Washington. And I was like, my chest is out. I'm a radio guy. I ain't doing that. So my plan was basketball, plan B was radio. So I'm doing plan B and I'm loving it. It's a passion. I'm having fun with it. But after Kiana was born, that passion started to slowly decrease. And after AD offered me a job, I was in LA I was living in San Antonio. I came back to San Antonio, and when I got off the airplane, the first thing I heard was the station's been sold.
Wow.
So now I just turned down a job,
plan.
and I'm not sure what's going on. But I got this responsibility that's really, I'm very responsible. My mom taught me that. So lo and behold, I get a job. I moved to St. Louis, working for Interurban. And at that time, they owned YLD, AM, and FM. And I think they had one station in Savannah. But when they initially hired me, they hired me to come program WYLD. So they bought 7 stations overnight from Blue Chip. And the station where I met you was IZF in Cincinnati.
That's right.
Myself, Dale Spencer, and Marv Hankston, we signed that station on the air through Interurban. But it was all automated. They didn't have any live bodies there. So I go to St. Louis. So long story short, so when I 2 weeks before I was supposed to move to St. Louis to New Orleans, they called and asked me would I mind going to St. Louis. So I should have known something was crazy then, but hey, I need a job. I got a responsibility.
Right.
So, and my father at the time lived in St. Louis, so I was like, it's a great time for me to reconnect with my dad and do the
you have your daughter reconnect with your dad.
Yeah. So I moved to St. Louis and left my family in San Antonio. I wasn't really sure about the opportunity, but I moved to St. Louis and I programmed Cats for 6 months, and then they came and told me because I wasn't on the air anymore that I had a luxury job and they had to lay me off because they had bought 7 stations and the cash flow was going crazy. So that was then, and the next day I get a call, and so my mind is already thinking about, I got this responsibility. I'm living in St. Louis. My family's living in San Antonio. There's distance there, and I'm missing it. And how can I get everybody together? So I start to think about what's next for me. And and at this time, my only love was basketball and radio. I had nothing, and I'd never done a job for money in my entire life. It's always been something I love to do. So I get a call the next day from Willie Davis, who owned WLUM in Milwaukee, and I had worked for Willie before at WAW, his AM station. So Willie called me and said, "Hey, listen, I got a morning job, I got a programmer job, and a music director job. It is yours. You get a chance to go back home."
All these jobs, and it's yours.
Yeah, he said,
that's right. See, we're full circle because we're back here again.
So I'm saying to myself, I said, Willie, can I be honest with you? And this is me thinking. I said, I've never taken a job for money, and I'm not sure if I want to do radio anymore. And if I tell you right now, I'm taking this job, it'll be just for the money because I'm not sure where I am. So, and he appreciated the honesty, and he said, listen, I will give you 2 weeks to make up your mind. I will hold the job open for you for 2 weeks because you're so honest. And I went to bed that night, Terry. I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning. I'm done. I don't want to do no more personal appearances. I don't want to do, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But the thing that I was doing is the money I was making from remotes and the money I was making from my club. And I stayed in clubs every week. I never saw that money. I put it away. So I had money saved.
Okay.
And so I had a house in San Antonio. So I moved back to San Antonio. And when I lived there, I worked so much, I never did really enjoy the city. So I got a couple of dollars. I got some time off. I'm going to the Riverwalk every morning. I'm doing just things I'd never done before because I was just always working. And I get a call from RCA Records. And they offered me a job to move to Memphis as promotions. So again, it's not something I wanted to do. So I said, but I need a job now. So it's like I'm forced to take this opportunity. But the job didn't start for 30 days. And during that 30 days, a guy named Tony Anderson, who was working for Arista, who I had just met but didn't really know me, he called me up one day and said, hey, listen, man, I got a position that's going to be coming open in Dallas. And I would really love to, have you on my team. You came from radio, so you understand radio. I can teach you this side. I'm like, again, basketball. Memphis didn't have a basketball team. I was connected with the Spurs, so if I move to Dallas, I can go to the Spurs game. I can come to the Houston Rockets game. I got a Dallas Mavericks team I can go to.
Right.
So, long story short, it ended up not working out at RCA because of the leadership. I just wasn't comfortable with it, and I was more comfortable with the leadership at Arista. So I ended up going and working for Arista, and I did that for 2 years. I left Arista and then went to Motown, which going to Motown was probably like going to college. I had never Motown was the type of job for me that I used to hate for the day to end, and I couldn't wait for the next day to begin. It was just that. It was just that much fun for me. They had a way of including you in on every decision that the company was making. Whether your decision mattered or not, they include you in on it. In terms of signing artists, in terms of promotion that we were doing, in terms of the direction that the company was going. It was a very small company, so not only was I doing radio, I was doing retail, I was doing publicity, I was doing concerts. So, you know, at Motown, we did everything. But when I say in college, I didn't know how to do retail. I didn't really understand publicity, and I didn't understand a lot of things that Motown had me doing. So it sort of broadened my knowledge, and I'm always looking to learn. So Motown was fun. Still to this day, a lot of things that I learned at Motown, I still use in my management style and the things and the way I move around now. But Motown was it. And then at Motown, I became really hot in these streets out here doing promotions. So Billboard gave me the promotion person of the year, and then I started getting job offers. And I would go to Motown. They were like, well, you know, we don't want you to leave, you know, throw a little bit more money on it. And then finally, I got an offer to move to New York to work with Tony Anderson again at Mercury. And my boss, Paris Seeley, at the time, he came to me and said, listen, man, we feel like we're holding you back. We can't grow you over here, and you're ready to grow. And so, you know, I think this is a good opportunity for you. And so,
you know what? That's in and of itself is so amazing that somebody would have the you know what, you've tapped out here. It's you know, and really give you blessings and just come from an honest place.
Because that's the only way I would have left Motown. Motown was, I mean, I love the people there. I love the artists that we had, that we, you know, I loved everything about the company, and still friends with those people to, you know, to this day. So Motown was that was it. So I go to Mercury, and it was different. And realistically, I had not learned how to swim with the sharks yet. And when you go from being a regional to a national to something like that, you really need layers, mentors. And I had people, but not inside the company. So Tony brought me in, and I had a 2-year deal with a 1-year option. And they let Tony go a year and a half into it. And then after, you know, as Tony go, then everybody he brought in had to go. So I got caught up in that. But luckily, that was in October and January, Motown brought me back. That's the position, but, you know, I got a chance to come back to Dallas and really think about if I can come back with the same intensity, and also think about what I just went through, because it was a learning experience. And so I came back to Motown for another 2 years, and then I got a call from Sylvia Rome.
Legend.
He said, hey, you know, I'm leaving Atlantic and I'm going up to Electra, and I'd like to have you on my team. And so we sit down, and I was able to talk to her about some of the things that I thought was pitfalls for me before, and some of the things that I experienced that, you know, I need to grow in. I was just being very honest about my growth. And she looked me in the face and said, hey, I got you. You know, what you don't know, I'll show you. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, I will pay to go send you back home. You don't have to, you know. So long story short, I worked for 14 years.
That's great.
So, but that's like the end of it. And then, you know, in 2004, they sold Electra, and of course everybody got caught up and I got caught up in the maze, and I still had like a year or something left on my contract. And then I found myself in a very unfamiliar position, because I was really unsure about what was next for me. And I just, in all honesty, I made about 4 really bad decisions that affected me for about 3 years, because I had opportunities that I could have gone back in, but I didn't take them because to this day I can't explain, because I'm really good at making decisions.
So you had 4, while you were at Electra toward the tail end, you had 4 separate opportunities that came your way.
Yeah.
But you were so committed to what you were doing with Electra, you let them pass?
No, I don't think it was a commitment, but I think that I was trying to figure out where I was in my life.
Okay.
Do I really want to do this again? You know
what, that is so key, I think, Mike, is that, you know, a lot of times we just do, but I think from a lot of people that are trying to create careers, there does come a point or points throughout your career where it's like take a step back moment. And, you know, for me, you know, I'm a spiritual person, I'm gonna put it out there. So I always say, God, am I where you want me to be right now? You know, and I really try to meditate and pray on that for myself even. But I do think that, you know, those that have a career, long, successful careers like yourself, there are those moments where you might step back and sort of check your own oil about what is it that you're doing? What do you want to do? Are you still in line with what your purpose is, you know, and able to really make it happen?
You know, and I think that was part of it because, you know, again, I've been working nonstop, you know, from the time I got out of high school. And when I got my first job, the time that I got laid off, got fired in St. Louis, I was only off for like 2 months, 3 months. So I'm going 100% full speed ahead. So I think I needed this time to reassess where I was. And then I think the other reality, I think I probably had peaked in terms of executive. I didn't think I could go to being on the board.
Okay.
You know, am I going to be able to sign artists and have my own label and do those things? So at this point now, I'm just working for a paycheck in my mind. And so I got to figure out what's next for me, and then who am I during this process, because I've changed as a person, you know. But I still love music and I still love the business. I just didn't figure out, I didn't know where I belong. And I used to tell Colleen, you know, Colleen used to work with me. I used to tell her all the time. I said, Colleen, realistically, I had more fun in the field than I did in the New York office.
Okay.
New York was good for me because I learned a lot. But in terms of having fun going to work every day, I had more feel coming to radio, arguing with you guys and fighting you guys about music, and doing it on a daily basis, not just from a national standpoint. So an opportunity came for me to go to Warner Brothers, and as a consultant first with Ken Wilson. Then he left, and then they wanted to talk to me about being a vice president again. And I just told them, I said, again, me being honest, I said my preference is to move back to Dallas. You know, I will stay here and do what you need me to do because, you know, I mean, I still have a passion for the business. I still want to work, but I really want to go back to Dallas. And I wanted to come back to Dallas first. My church is here. OCBF, Dr. Tony Evans is someone that I really really believe in and follow in. And when I'm not there, you know, my uncle and his wife is the minister in Memphis, Pastor Melvin and Linda Jones. So I go to Memphis and get my teachings there. But I've always had to have that ground, and that's kind of what centers me and keep me sort of focused on who I am and what I need to be doing. Am I doing the right things, and am I treating people right? So I said, coming back here, I can take a lesser position, but I could also have time to figure out who I am and what's next for me. And lo and behold, you know, after during the process of being out, I lost my brother at 50 years old. And then 6 months later, I lost my grandmother. And then 8 months later, I lost my mother.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm in a storm, and all this is going on around me, and I still haven't figured out my next thing yet, you know. So Warner was smart enough, or they was able to, you know, they moved me back to Dallas and gave me a national position, and so I was able to start back doing something that I love to do. So going to radio every day and doing the day-to-day, I still have a passion for that. I still love doing that. So I did that, but in the process of losing my family members, it had to make sense for me. And one of the things that I've always done with bonus money, you know, after, you know, I paid for my daughter's college and my son's college, I had that put away. I love property. I love buying houses. So I said, well, you know what? I can kind of honor their memory and buy a house and name this house after my mom. Buy a house and name this house after my grandmother. Buy a house and name this house after my brother. So that's basically what I've done. And in the process, I found the thing that I love most, which I think is the next chapter of my life, is I love to give. I love helping people, and I love to give. So, you know, when this is over, meaning, you know, I get tired of it, they get tired of me, I got myself set up where I can go and just really serve and just give and still be able to make money in the process of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's amazing. I saw earlier when you were sharing your story, somebody really made a very wise comment, was talking about, you know, networking then as compared to now, right? So these jobs, like now people go online, you know, you have LinkedIn or you have whatever where you're connecting with people. But really for you, your journey has really been the old school way. You know, it's like working really hard, becoming known for the work that you do, and people having an interest in working with you,
Yeah.
via reputation really, and nothing about social media, nothing about, that online space. It was really all about, you gutting it out and just doing good work and being a good person.
Well, I think, when you're passionate about something, like I don't think I've ever had a job in my life. I think I've been able to wake up every day and do something that I'm passionate about and something I love to do. And when that passion ended in radio, I had to step away from it. And just like over here, if the passion ends tomorrow here, I will step away from it. But as long as I have that fire inside me to do it, I want to be able to do it.
Well, I mean, I think that's awesome. And then really, at this stage in your life and career to really, I mean, you've always sort of said it, like you want to be able to do things that speak to your heart. And if it's not connecting there, then you're just really stepping out on faith and knowing that that's not the thing for you. So,
Right.
And here you are, right? There's a lot of people, a lot of counterparts probably that you came into business with that just aren't in it anymore, but you've been able to stay relevant and let the work speak for itself and able to still do, like you said, what you love. You still have the passion. And a lot of times, especially with all these cutbacks and everything that's been going on in our business, you're still here and you're still making your mark. And that's just, beautiful, really.
I think, the team of people that I work with now, I think they respect what I bring to the table. And, I'm
Right.
not trying to be the boss, but I do have leadership skills.
Yes.
And, again, that's something I learned on the basketball court, is how to be a leader. And so the things that I learned, again, I say a lot of things I learned in basketball, I have in real life today. I had a coach who drilled into me that you're the captain of the team, you're the point guard, you're the leader. And then he started to tell me what that means. And I had to start figuring out what it means to me as a whole. So to be able to still be able to do that at this point in my life and have a team of people that receive it, it's gratifying,
Well, somebody's asking a question. Can you, this is Sound of H-Town. Can you tell us some of your mentors that helped you fall in love with radio and music? I may have missed it. Yeah, he sort of went over that in the beginning, actually, but you come from a radio family. That's, that's sort of in your bloodstream, a lot of family members in radio. And then just because you're so passionate about music, you got on the radar of the record industry. And so, so that's a really great question. You've been very fortunate to see a lot of the transition of the business. What are some of the qualities that were valuable for artists to have then that are still valuable to have now?
It's originality.
Okay.
You got to be original and creative. And, you put the work in, and I think people can tell when you're trying to BS them, when it's real and when it's not. And I think that, again, for me, passion has always been my key. It's been the key for my success, I think, in terms of doing what I do. It's passion. So if you have a passion about something, and also, I think you have to make the mirror your best friend, because you got to be honest. Like,
okay.
I looked in that mirror and said, I'm not an NBA basketball player. But I could still use that in life, the experience that I had with it. So maybe you're not an artist. Maybe you're a guitar player. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you're a producer. Maybe you're a manager. Or maybe you carry the bags, But you can't be afraid to dabble in either one of those. And you have to be honest with yourself,
Okay. So we've seen a lot of changes in the business. What are some of the new obstacles that people have had to overcome, and what do you think helps them do that? It's different being an artist today than it was, 20 years ago. It's a whole different ballgame.
Well, I think the artists today have a little bit more leverage than they did back in the day because of social media. You really don't have to have a label to be famous, you can be famous on Instagram. So I think as an artist, you have to decide one of two things. Do you want to be famous or do you want to be rich?
Okay.
And then how do you become both? Because sometimes the two doesn't necessarily match.
Right.
So what are your end game? What's your end game? What's your end goal? What do you want to walk away with at the end of the day? You famous, rich, or both?
Okay.
So then you look and see who has both, and then you sort of mirror some of the things or try to see some of the things that got them to that point in their life. You know, for me, I've always, you know, we used to have conventions like on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And instead of me going to the clubs and hanging out with the people, I would be around the old heads. You know, what's your journey? How did you get to this point? What were you thinking? So I was able to hear a lot of stories and then take some of it and see what fits me and where I wanted to go and how, you know, and how I wanted to, what is my end game on the end of the day? How do I want to be remembered and what do I want to leave behind? And for me, it's helping that next executive grow into all they can be and share. I'm not afraid to share the things that I've learned with anyone, thinking that they would take it and use it against me or they'd be better than me. I don't have that fear. I think that the best gift I can give you is share my experiences. And if you can draw something from that and learn and take it to the next level for yourself, then have it. But I will tell you anything I know, you know.
Right.
If you're worthy, you have to be worthy of it. And I have
So
to see
how do you determine if you're worthy?
the passion.
Okay.
The passion. Because if I can share it with you, but if you don't have the drive to go get it, what is it going to mean at the end of the day?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's just, I mean, I try to keep it simple. I try to, you know, make it as simple as possible. I don't have any serious theories about success in life. You know, I just wake up every day and be the best person I can be and give 100% at what I'm doing. And that has worked for me, you know, throughout my career.
Who are some of the favorite artists? I mean, and I know you'll share this because we're talking positive energy here, but some of the favorite artists that you've had and what made them special to you?
I would say Kenny G is one.
Okay.
Kenny has such a good spirit and a good soul about who he is as a person. I mean, the time I worked with Kenny, I think it was the second album after Duotones, which was really a big album for him.
Huge.
But the guy that played keyboard with him, they've been friends since high school.
That's wonderful.
You know, and they're probably still friends to this day. I haven't spoken to him in years, but you know, still friends to this day. But it was just a joy to be with Kenny. Kenny was a vegetarian. He tried to convert me over.
Didn't work.
and actually, I had Kenny in Houston one time. You know how promotion people are. We always try to put the extra sauce on some things. And a friend of mine had a Rolls Royce. So we was going to this club and I had him pick us up in the Rolls Royce. And I had to really make him get in the car. We're like, Mike, I'm not getting in this car. You know, like, Kenny, come on. I want to ride in. I've never been in a Rolls Royce before. But he was just that kind of guy. Very humble, very easy to talk to, and very sharing of his knowledge, you know.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite artists was Gerald Austin. I love working with Gerald. Working with Johnny Gill was a thrill. Because I was introduced to Johnny when he was 13.
Yeah.
His first album was called Chemistry. He was working, and this girl Stacey Lattisaw had introduced him. So to see him go to New Edition and get his solo thing started was gratifying to be a part of that. It's a lot. I mean, I enjoyed the time I worked with Genuine. I thought he was a hardworking guy and really got it. You know, that's kind of. And then, but probably my all-time favorite was Gerald Levert.
I knew you were going to say it. Well, and that's so fun. So, what was it about Gerald that you love so much, and you know, what made him special to you as an artist?
You know, I think that if Gerald and I was in high school together, we've been friends. You know?
Okay.
But it started out very rocky because when I first moved to New York, working for Elektra, Gerald was an artist signed there, and he was at the Apollo Theater. So I'm gonna go to the Apollo Theater, introduce Gerald. I'm the new guy, you know, it's gonna be working with him, and you know, we need to, you know, have this connection, right? He wouldn't see me.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, Big Joe, was just kind of like, Gerald ain't seeing nobody from the label tonight. I'm like, huh? But I'm new, you know, I'm new. I need to see him. So he didn't come out and see me. About a month later, he was in Little Rock. I flew to Little Rock. And caught the show in Little Rock and waited for him. And he's like, what you doing here? So I told him, I said, man, I tried to see you in New York. And he apologized. He said it had nothing to do with you. He said there was just some things I was going through and I had to deal with. But we sat up and talked till like 3 o'clock in the morning. And what I found out that, you know, Gerald was a very sensitive, very talented guy. But somehow he trusted me. And So when he would have issues with the label in terms of creatively, he would like, hey, he thought I had good ears. He said, "What do you think about this song?" So he started playing me songs, sometime before he played them for the label, just to get my take on it. And we rolled and he said, "Now listen, you can't tell Sylvia." and I would tell him, "You can't tell on me because she'd probably fire me if she don't listen to this stuff." But we sort of developed that bond that way. And so after we shut down, he came to me, one of two artists that ever wanted to look out for me, and say, "Hey, listen, man, I know they're making changes here. You want me to go and talk to them about, you stand at the company?" And I told him no. I said, I'm ready to go. I wanted to leave because, just not really sure where I am at that point in my life. And then I had a Wale, to my understanding, that when we went from Warner Brothers to Atlantic, he went to the company and said, "The only way I'm going to sign if you keep everybody on that worked my last project." And I was a part of that. So, and I had a lot of respect for those guys. Those are the only two artists that ever, to my knowledge, stood up for me and said, "Hey, we value you, and we want you to keep feeding your family just like I'm feeding mine."
That's beautiful. There's a question from the Sound of H-Town. The question is, what are a few do's and don'ts that you see when artists approach you for assistance? And then part two is, what makes someone stand out to a label?
I've never signed an artist a day in my life. That's an A&R question, I think. But for me, when people approach me, I will ask them for their best 3 songs. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get 9 or 10 songs. So I know at that point in time, that's not a person I want to do business with. First of all, you don't listen, and then if you can't tell me your best 3 songs, I'm not gonna spend my time from what I get paid to do every day to try to help you develop who you are. That's not what I do. That's not what I do.
So listening is essential.
It's very much essential. Or I mean, and then I would say, Mondays and Tuesdays are my busiest days. So here's my number. I'll talk to you, but please respect Monday and Tuesday. First thing Monday morning, "Yo, I met you." So then, you be eliminated from the process with me, because if you can't respect, what I'm doing, I can't, give up my livelihood or mess up my livelihood trying to help you develop yours. So.
Yeah, I think that what happens sometimes is that people, I'd never discount how bad somebody wants it, and I can appreciate the fact that you want it, but listening is essential. And all of us are very busy, right? So if you have the good fortune to be able to connect with somebody like Mike or whomever in the game, I think respect is key, because you are busy and you have a job to do and you're still feeding your family.
Right.
But whatever you're asking for, to just give what you're asking for. And if that person doesn't have it, I think the respect also comes in if somebody says, well, lets you know where they are honestly with it.
Right.
And I think sometimes people are over-delivering, or they think they're over-delivering because they don't want you to see where they may fall short. But the reality is, with your level of experience, you can see right through that anyway.
Yeah. And then just from an artist standpoint, it's something I live with in my life every day. The moment you think you got that hit song, I think the moment you start to fail.
Okay, explain that.
Because there's no drive to go do anything else. I got it already. And for me, it's like when I say I use it in my life. The moment I think I'm successful, the moment I think I have arrived, I think that's the demise of who I am as a person, because I have no reason to go out and do the things that I do every day, or be motivated to learn anything new. I know everything already. And I never want to be in that situation. I'm always trying to learn and trying to figure out things. Sometimes I stay up late at night or go to the basketball courts, which is where I figure out everything in my life. I still have a good jump shot, Terry.
I've heard, absolutely. So I am Lando Notes is asking, Mike, he's asking, is talent still chosen when it comes to labels, in your opinion? I know you're not A&R, but what's your opinion on
that? I think the cream always rises to the top. I think that, if something you're passionate about, something you really believe in, nobody has to believe in me to wake up every day and do what I do. I have to believe in me. So you have to keep pushing that needle forward until you get what you want out of it, or until you see it's not for you. But that's a personal decision that you're going to have to make as an individual, as an artist, and as a person. You got to push it until you can't push it anymore.
Yeah. Also,
and read the signs along the way. There's things that's going to tell you this is not for you. or this is for you. You just got to keep pushing. It's maybe not now, you know. And then timing is everything in this business and in life in general. It's about timing, you know.
I would say that every artist that makes what they think is a hit record, it doesn't always manifest. There's so much that goes into it. Timing is one. There's a lot of great music that just is out here in the atmosphere, but it never makes a hit artist because there's a lot that goes into being an artist. You know, this is the business behind the music for a reason, because there's an entire business
Right.
behind the music. And so we do this here because we're trying to give you information that you need on the business side of things to help drive your art. Even with that, no, there's never guarantees, but I think the beautiful thing about the time that we're living in, and I know Mike and I have talked about this personally as well, is that there's a lot of different roads to success. You just have to decide what type of success that it is that you're looking for. And the fact that we have the internet and there's a lot of ways like music, the music community is global now. You know, you may want to be successful in the music business, figuring out what that looks like for you. And then, like, you know, you talked about, Mike, fame and money, right? So if you know, some notoriety and money is your goal, does it matter that your success may not come here, but you're huge in Canada, which is giving you notoriety and also a lot of money, right? So we've seen that come into play as well, where sometimes it's about finding the people that really rock with your art and going where that leads you to find your success. And we've had groups that have doubled back, you know, to the US and have had that happen as well. So that can happen. So really figuring out what success looks like to you specifically, I think is really, really essential. This is a pretty decent question here. Has there ever been someone you thought was super talented but needed a little polishing? How do you give constructive criticism without discrediting the craft? And then I guess tough skin is something you have.
You know, what I try to do in every situation is share my experiences, and I can only tell you what I think, you know. And there have been tons of artists that we've signed that you know, you think. There's an artist that I worked at in Motown named Malaya, you know.
Yeah, I remember Malaya.
I thought
Go
she
Outside
was.
in the Rain. Her version of that is one of my all-time favorite.
Same here. Mercy, Mercy Me, you know. She's an
Yes,
artist that I
she was
thought
amazing.
had the goods. But for some reason, you know, after the first album, the second album was just marginal, and then she just went away. But I spent time with her just trying, you know, a lot of artists are pretty much insecure about what their art or who they are. So I spent a lot of time with her just trying to get her to see that there's something special here. You just got to, you know, keep pushing forward, and you can't listen to the naysayers. You got to be, you know, all in with who you are and what your goals are and what you're trying to do. But she's a perfect example of that, you know, that I had the opportunity to work with, that I thought you could probably still be around today. You know.
GTA Young Bull. So how do we get in contact with someone for an artist that is next level ready? Mike, I'll let you share your thoughts. I have some as well.
I mean, I think if you're next level ready, I know our label in particular, we have people that sit around and scan the net, social media, look at all the platforms that artists are available that can be found. If you're ready, they're gonna find you.
Yes. That's I think important to note, because this is this quote I saw on Instagram recently, and I thought it was really smart. It's like, you know, giving them what you're giving them what you want to give them versus giving them what they want, right? So I think if your goal is to get signed to a major record label, having an understanding of what they want, and let's all dumb it down to the bottom line. The bottom line is the bottom line. They want to make money, right? They're in the business to make money. That's the first and foremost. We're passionate people that love music, that are fortunate to be instruments in these companies because we do love music. But the bottom line is always the bottom line for companies. We don't own them. Their number one goal is to make money. Atlantic Records is not a nonprofit. Radio One is not a nonprofit, right?
Right.
So, to Mike's point, and we've talked about this a lot in this series, it's doing everything that you can to grow in your craft. And if you're doing everything that you need to do, and most importantly, what you're doing is resonating with enough people, meaning fans, the regular consumer out here, then yes, they have entire departments that do nothing but that. They're looking for the artist that is next level ready because they're wanting to partner with you to make money. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Right.
So I just want to note that we had a session recently here, and it's still on the Instagram for Box with Troy Marshall, who broke down the 28 essential platforms that you need to be on as an artist with some cohesiveness to try to help yourself get the algorithm moving to get yourself on the radar if what you're putting out is product that's resonating with people. So I would encourage you, GTA, if you missed that, pop back and check that out, because I think that can help you, get on the radar in the way that you want. Miss Coco has a great question here. She says, on the promotion side, how much has it changed in regards to access? What is the route to take to refrain from being classified as a janky promoter now that the internet is involved? And Miss Coco, janky promoters have been janky promoters since day one. There's just janky promoters. Then there's janky promoters now. So how much has it changed?
Well, put it like this. I used to say, let me use Johnny Gill as an example. We used to get the records, we'd FedEx them out overnight, right? But
Yeah.
I live here in Dallas, so I know the record is coming. I would literally get in, at the time we only had K104, so I would get in my car when I get to drive over to K104, drop the record off, and when I leave there, I'm in my car driving to Tyler, Texas. I hear the record on the radio. I leave Tyler, Texas. I go to Tyler, Texas, drop the record off, to the station. I leave there. I hear the record on the radio. I go to Freeport. So the excitement of it was, you have this product, you take it to radio, and they hear it right away, and they put it on the air. So now you email a song to radio. It's sitting on their desk for 6 weeks before they listen to it, because everything else is, they're more than just listening to music and programming now. The responsibility of a programmer, from my knowledge in radio, has changed from when I was in radio. I literally did everything, but I had time for everything. I was the music director. I was on-air jock. I was a PD. I did production. I was in charge of promotions and everything else. Now you have people doing that, but you guys are dealing more from a corporate standpoint, dealing with sales and everything else that goes with it. So you don't have time to really sit down and listen to music all the time, or you don't have the space.
Well, let's put this in perspective. Yeah. There's 35,000 new songs that drop every week.
Right.
And because we're here, like us, we're having this conversation now on the internet, and everybody's hanging with us on the internet, the 35,000 songs, think of the numbers there. So, not impossible. There's a lot that you can do to help yourself, and it's a great opportunity to get into space, but it's 35,000 songs a week. That's a lot of freaking music.
Right. And you just don't have the space. I got a couple songs out there now that radio saying they like, they just don't have room to put it on yet. So
well, that's true. The other thing that I think, Mike, and I'll clarify this for those that don't understand, is that radio is rotation is a mathematical equation. I mean, everything in life is math, and radio is certainly no exception, right? So there's a finite number of slots on a playlist for a particular reason, because the psychology of radio and why we do radio, we love radio because we love music and we love impacting the community and all that. We're instruments of it. But again, remember, our job is to make money for the company. I mean, because we work for corporations, and that's everything that you do, right? So with radio, my job is to craft a product that's going to get ratings for the purpose of generating revenue, that in a particular demographic, right? And in radio, it's a repetition medium. So for all of us here in this chat right now, when you listen to the radio, what are you doing? I would say 99.99999% of the time, you're always doing something else. Radio is a passive medium. A lot of people listen in the car, for example. What are you doing first? Are you listening to the radio, or are you driving? No, you're really driving first. So radio is always in the passenger seat. If you're at home and you're cleaning up, you've got the music on, are you listening to music? Sure, but you're also, number one, focused on the task that you're doing. So radio tends to be in the passenger seat. So that's why it's a medium that tends to have repetition, because we're trying to, cater to a specific demographic for the purpose of getting ratings, of generating revenue. And I know a lot of artists and people can find that frustrating, but the bottom line is the bottom line when you work for corporations. And, you could have You have a lot of other ways to be able to get your music exposed, playlisting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is still great opportunity even in that with a lot of what's happening in the social space.
Right.
Okay, so here's a question. The artist I work with has been featured on the 97.9 site. Okay, yeah, that's on our partner. He's referring to On the Radar, which is a partner platform that we have where artists can submit a song to get feedback from curators, which are real people that just love music the way that Mike and I love music, and all they want to do is listen to music and give commentary. It's a cool platform. So labels have offered deals, but how do we get access to get a shot to display talent? You just need to display your talent. You have everything you need to display your talent. If you want to get shows, do a show. If you do a show online now, right? Cultivate your fan base and just put it together. So I don't know, like back to Mike's point, there are literally entire departments at these labels, major and otherwise, that all they do is comb the internet looking for what's hot. And then there's people like Mike, and when things open back up, you know, they're out and about in the marketplace, and maybe they do see somebody that's of interest and would send that name up. But it's not because you necessarily came up to them. It's because they saw you at a show or saw you somewhere or was out at a club and heard your music playing and they're asking about it. Mm-hmm. So just build your brand and build your connection. Just looking through for some questions. Anybody got questions? Drop them in here. Okay, confidence here. I'm a 19-year-old rapper. I will rule the world. I hope you do.
Good luck.
I know, right? That's what you want to do. Make it happen. You know, make it happen. What do you think the greatest opportunity is for someone who wants to be in the music business right now, Mike?
I think you have to narrow it down to what you really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is it marketing? You know, is it promotions? Is it publicity? Is it A&R? I think once you narrow it down, then you shoot your arrow at that shot. You know, shoot your shot there. So, you know, that's a very broad question. You have to know the character of the person and where they belong. But you got to figure out where you belong, you know, and what it is you want to do.
Mm-hmm. We're almost out of time, but I do want to touch on this again, just because I think it's a really important point and something you've talked about since the first day I met you. And that is that we love business, but the business doesn't love us. Yeah. And so you've always been very passionate about, and you mentioned it a couple of times in here, that, oh, I was stacking my remote money, or I was stacking my bonus check, or whatever the case may be. So you've been very passionate about setting up something else on the side financially. Speak on that a little bit more just for the team in here, because even if you're not making a lot of money, there's still an opportunity to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know people that made less money than I made and have way more to show for it than I do. So it's not about that. It's what you do with it, what you make. And, you know, for me, you know, again, I'm all in. This business is so consuming that, and you want to be so good and so excellent at it. For me, I'm good at one thing at a time. I'm not a great and I say that, but I've been doing it for like last 7 years. But, you know, I like focusing on one thing and being great at that one thing. I'm not a jack of all trades and a master of none. I like master what I do. So with that being said, this business is so consuming and you really don't have time to think about what's next for you. And it took me really 5 years of praying about it and thinking about it and asking myself what's next for me and what's that next passion that I have, because I've never had a job. Everything I've done has been from a labor of love or from something I love to do. So I feel like the next chapter of my life has to be something I love to do as well. So with that being said, you have to really look in the mirror and say what's next for you, and what is that next thing going to encompass? Is it a job, or is it something that you're passionate about that you can turn into money? You know, again, my passion for, like on Sundays, if I'm not doing anything, I go to a new subdivision in a heartbeat just to look at houses. It's just something I love to do, you know, and now I like owning them.
Right.
It's another thing I love to do. But, you know, it's what's your passion? And so when people ask me what they should be doing, what's your passion? And if you don't know what your passion is, then you're lost. You got to search and find out what that is. Otherwise, you'll have a job.
Right.
You're like me. I don't, you know, I'm too long in the game to have a job now.
Totally understand. Well, listen, Mike, I'm so glad that you got up and joined us this morning. It's been awesome having you here.
Well,
and first Instagram Live.
Well, thank you, because I, when I left radio, I was pretty much done with public. Everything I do or try to do is like behind the scenes. I like having one-on-one conversations. I don't like getting in front of the mic and speaking in front of people anymore. That's I had to leave that alone when I left radio alone. Otherwise, I'd still be thirsting for it. And I never want to thirst for anything I've done in the past. So, I always want to look forward. So, thank you for the invite. I was flattered when you thought enough of me to ask me to come. And I hope
always. You are the Yoda of the business. So, and I love the fact that you're still equally passionate about radio, because we have as many radio conversations as we probably do record conversations. So
it's a love that I would probably die with.
Yes, awesome. So listen, family. So I've tagged Mike down here. This is where you can find him on the gram. And then, just want to say, everybody, thank you so much for waking up with us this morning, and I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to say this to the IG Live, so if you missed any part of it, it'll be up forever and ever and ever and ever, so you can go back and watch it. And we'll be back on Tuesday with another edition of The Business Behind the Music. So Vox family, have a great, great, great day.
Thank you, Terri.
All right, ciao.